Hi, we're Group 1 and we're going to present our paper on mutualism and symbiosis and their definitions in textbooks throughout the United States. I'm Terry Ramey.
I'm Nicole Leach.
I'm Raphael Evans.
And our thesis is mutualism and symbiosis are scientific terms that can be used to describe the interaction between two different species, but despite their similarity, they cannot be used interchangeably. These common biology terms provide a good example of information that is being misrepresented throughout textbooks across America and our schools. In order to increase science literacy in public schools, we need to ensure that our textbooks are federally mandated to provide accurate and consistent information. Currently, textbooks throughout the country do not have a comprehensive, cohesive definition. Often they're described as being, mutualism and symbiosis are described as being synonymous, which is absolutely not the case. Worse yet, in many states, science budgets have been cut and students receive maybe 30 minutes of education and have no textbook at all. We should start by clearly defining mutualism and symbiosis.
Mutualism occurs when two species live in close proximity to each other and both species benefit from this interaction. There are three different types of mutualism. Trophic mutualism is when there is an exchange of a resource such as nutrients. A bacteria and a termite are the perfect example of this mutualism. Bacteria live in the gut of the termite, and in return, the bacteria allow the termite to digest cellulose, and both partners get the resources from this digestion process. Defensive mutualism is when one species protects another in exchange for a service. So a spider and a bird. There are giant spiders that keep frogs. And in return, the frog will protect the spider's eggs, and the spider will offer protection to the frog from other predators. Dispersive mutualism occurs when one species basically provides food and the other species pollinates or disperses the seeds of the other species. Perfect example would be flower and bees. The bee lands on the flower, gets the pollen, and drinks the nectar, and in return pollinates all the other flowers that it lands on in the process. So the next is symbiotic relationships in general. Symbiosis is when two different species live in close proximity to each other and there's a specific interaction that takes place. The interactions can be decided as positive, negative, or neutral, depending on what's occurring. So the different types of symbiotic relationships are commensalism, predation, parasitism, and competition. Commensalism is when one species benefits and the other doesn't benefit or gets hurt in the process. That's represented by a positive and a zero. Parasitism and predation is when one species preys on another. That's represented by a plus and a minus sign. Competition is when two species are competed for a limited resources, and both species have the potential to have a negative impact on the other one. And as stated previously, mutualism, which is both species interact and it's a positive interaction, so it's plus plus.
In many science textbooks around the world, there are inconsistencies with provided information, followed then by inconsistencies in how the information is taught in the classroom. Currently, textbooks across the country do not have a cohesive, comprehensive definition and description of either mutualism or symbiosis. This is particularly evident in biology, an increasingly important subject for both primary and secondary schools. In two textbooks, Introduction to Marine Biology and Elements of Ecology, both textbooks distributed at ODU for biology courses, they both have different definitions for the term symbiosis. In Introduction to Marine Biology, living together in which any change in environmental factors that affects one partner will invariably affect the other as well. This is not the case for the term commensalism, which is a type of symbiotic relationship where one benefits and the other one has no effect. In the definition for symbiosis of elements of ecology, this definition is a little more accurate in describing two dissimilar organisms living together in close association and not specifically defined as positive, negative, or neutral, but a wide variety of different interactions. And in Anton de Berry's definition of symbiosis, the living together of unlike organisms, and Mullins just clarifies that mutualism is a form of symbiosis in which both species benefit. For primary and secondary schools, inconsistencies are found in relation to science material and textbooks distributed. A journal article from Penguin Journal of Education and Instruction describes and details different research studies with results that regard inconsistency among curriculum, textbooks, and placement examinations. These studies were conducted to analyze both the content of textbooks as well as how textbooks are taught in schools and the results with taking their placement examinations. Textbook distribution, again, in primary and secondary schools are consistently inaccurate and provide confusing information. This is also the case in college and universities in the example that I gave previously for marine biology and elements of ecology, where the symbiotic definitions were inconsistent. This inconsistent information provided in both curriculum and associated textbooks could cause misinterpretation. This could then lead to results in low test scores and student achievement in the already low national standard. This can cause a student to fall behind in school or get held back. The lack of standards in the United States is the main cause of decline in science literacy, not just in the two terms mutualism and symbiosis. It's important to understand that these terms cannot be used interchangeably, and it's really important that this subject in schools should be taught better and more concise, more better interpretation, because it's good for economic success because of the different fields of biology we have here in the world right now. For the chart listed on this slide, this information was obtained from the 2009 National Assessment of Educational Progress. It shows the percentage grades of standardized tests for 4th, 8th, and 12th graders at or above the basic level or at the proficient level, which is the national standard in the U.S. It shows that the percentage rates are well below what they're supposed to be, which is below 35% or more, which is causing people to get held back in schools.
Opponents of a federal mandate claim that replacing textbooks currently in use would be costly, time-consuming, and difficult. On average, high school textbooks cost between $70 and $100. If we take into account the fact that not all high school students will be continuing education, and of the students who do, not all will be continuing in science, this change might not be more cost-effective than just relying on college professors to teach what students should have learned previously in high school. This inconsistent information costs taxpayers millions of dollars every year. In 2006 alone, Kentucky lost over $25 million on students who needed remedial courses. Remediation is when college students have to take lower level college classes that have no credit and are very costly in order to learn information that should have been taught to them in high school. More than 50% of first-time college students in Kentucky needed this non-credit developmental course to supplement the information they didn't get because of the lack of consistent information in textbooks. In Colorado, only 24% of high school seniors are prepared for college-level biology. This situation is compounded by the fact that students who need remediation then have lower graduation rates compared to students who didn't need remediation and were actually prepared for their college-level courses. Again, the cost of this remediation is huge, costing over $11 million in Colorado. So even though more students are graduating from high school, which is the case, over 80% of students are graduating from high school now in the United States, which is an unprecedented number of students. These students are also overwhelmingly underprepared to continue on with their education. In conclusion, our textbooks should have federal mandates to provide consistent, accurate information so that our children, when they're continuing their education, don't need remediation. Again, mutualism is defined as a symbiotic relationship between individuals of different species in which both individuals benefit from the association, whereas symbiosis is defined as a long-term relationship between two different species. This can have many different subcategories, of which mutualism is one. To ignore proper updated information costs students and taxpayers alike. It costs taxpayers millions of dollars every year. It is therefore necessary that we ensure that our children are receiving the most updated, accurate, and consistent information possible. To guarantee that this is the case, we need to federally mandate texts that our children receive and ensure that they are getting a proper education in science throughout our schools. Thank you.
Okay, bye. Bye.